Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling the ultimate cold case by uncovering the breathtaking reality of how the ancient Egyptians actually built the Great Pyramid. For thousands of years, this monumental structure stood as the tallest building on Earth, and is literally the only surviving member of the seven wonders of the ancient world. But as much as we stare at its golden limestone in total awe, the true mystery isn't just what it is, it's how it came to be.
Just picture this. Imagine trying to build a structure taller than a 40-story building. We're talking around 480 feet high, without a single modern crane, truck, or even a wheel. That is the massive engineering mountain we have to climb here. We're looking at a society that possessed only rudimentary copper tools, stone pounders, and rotes, yet they somehow decided to construct a perfect artificial mountain right in the middle of a harsh, arid desert.
To really put this engineering challenge into perspective, I want you to focus on the number 50. While the average limestone blocks weighed around 1.5 to 2 tons each, some of the massive pink granite blocks used deep inside the king's chamber weighed up to 50 metric tons. To put that in everyday terms, that's roughly the weight of a modern double-decker bus. And they didn't just drag these a few feet, they quarried them hundreds of miles away in Aswan, hauled them all the way to the site, and placed them with laser-level precision.
All right, let's start breaking this down. Puzzle 1, City of Skilled Builders. We really need to solve the workforce puzzle first to see exactly who pulled off this monumental feat.
Now, for a long time, the identity of these builders was totally shrouded in misconception. For centuries, thanks to early accounts from Greek historians like Herodotus and, let's be honest, a lot of Hollywood movies, the popular myth was that endless lines of slaves were forced into backbreaking labor under the crack of a whip. But modern archaeological facts tell a completely different and, honestly, a far more impressive story. The reality is that the pyramids were built by a highly organized, deeply devoted, and well-compensated workforce.
Back in the 1990s, archaeologists, including Dr. Mark Lenner, uncovered the footprint of this massive workers' village, a literal lost city, right at the base of the Giza Plateau. This sprawling 13-hectare complex supported an estimated peak workforce of up to 40,000 people over the life of the project. It wasn't a slave camp at all. It was a bustling metropolis. Excavations turned up giant grain silos, huge bakeries feeding the masses, and undeniable evidence of professional medical care. We're talking set bones and amputations that healed perfectly. These workers ate prime cuts of meat and fish, and they were paid handsome salaries in daily rations of 10 loaves of bread and a jug of beer.
And managing this immense labor force, which was basically running like a well-oiled national machine, was Pharaoh Khufu's half-brother. Meet Hemiunu. This guy was a once-in-a-generation genius architect. He didn't just design a tomb, he engineered an absolute quantum leap in construction. He knew that to secure Khufu's legacy for eternity, he had to maximize the logistical power of the entire Egyptian state.
Which naturally brings us to our next major hurdle. Puzzle 2, the transport puzzle.
So once this incredible, skilled workforce quarried the 5.7 million tons of limestone needed just for the Great Pyramid, how on earth did they transport it across miles of desert and river? Well, in 2013, an astonishing discovery in a remote desert cave finally gave us the answer. It's called the Diary of Mer, and it is a 4,500-year-old logbook, literally the oldest papyrus ever found. Mer was an inspector, leading a crew of 40 elite workmen, and his daily journal details exactly how his team loaded these brilliant white limestone blocks from the Tur quarries and ferried them using specially crafted wooden cargo boats.
But wait, you might be thinking, the Giza Plateau today is miles away from the Nile River, right? So how did cargo boats get anywhere near it? Well, recent satellite imaging and deep soil coring studies, including a really major breakthrough just published in 2024, revealed that the ancient landscape looked completely different. They discovered the Ahara Hamat branch. It was an extinct 64-kilometer branch of the Nile that acted as a natural delivery route right past the pyramid complexes, long before it eventually dried up due to climate change.
See, the ancient Egyptians were absolute master hydrologists. They ingeniously timed their transport with the Nile's annual summer flooding season. As monsoon rain swelled the river, Mir and his crew would pull up wooden pilings to open massive earthen dikes. This directed the floodwaters into a vast network of man-made canals and harbor basins. They basically created a temporary hydraulic highway that let heavy cargo boats dock and unload their 2.5-ton stones directly at the base of the construction site. It's just brilliant. Okay, moving right along to Puzzle 3, cracking the ramp code. Because getting the stones to the base was really only half the battle. How exactly did they lift millions of stones up 480 feet into the sky? If you ask anyone on the street, they'll probably just say, oh, they built a giant ramp. But an external straight ramp has a massive mathematical flaw. To move heavy blocks, human pull teams really can't handle an incline much steeper than 8%. To reach the top of the pyramid at that gentle of a slope, a single external ramp would eventually need to be over a mile long. Think about that. It would contain more stone and rubble than the pyramid itself. So it's highly impractical for the upper levels, and we found zero archaeological evidence for a ramp of that monstrous size.
This glaring mathematical flaw led to one of the most fascinating architectural models proposed to date by French engineer Jean-Pierre Houdin. He theorized an internal ramp system. Houdin suggests they used a shorter traditional external ramp to build the wide bottom 30% of the pyramid. Then, for the remaining 70%, they built an internal corkscrewing ramp, essentially a spiraling tunnel just inside the outer face of the pyramid, allowing them to drag the blocks up from the inside out. And to get those massive 50-ton granite beams up to the king's chamber? Houdin's theory proposes a completely mind-blowing use for the Grand Gallery. This majestic soaring corridor inside the pyramid has puzzled experts for centuries. Well, Houdin believes it wasn't just decorative, it was actually a highly sophisticated counterweight chute. He suggests the stone benches running along the gallery acted kind of like railroad tracks. A cart loaded with heavy stones would roll down the gallery on wooden rollers, remember, no wheels, tethered by ropes to the giant granite beams outside, hauling them right up the external ramp with ease.
So once the external ramp was dismantled, the internal spiral ramp took over. But think about it, turning a 2-ton block inside a narrow, zigzagging tunnel is incredibly hard. To solve this, Houdin proposes they left open notches at the 4 corners of the pyramid. In these temporary open-air spaces, workers could catch their breath and use simple wooden levers or cranes to pivot the massive blocks 90 degrees before heading up the next incline. And incredibly, researchers have actually spotted a notch on the pyramid's edge that perfectly aligns with where one of these turning points should be.
And you know, the detective work literally never stops. Just in 2024, a really fascinating, albeit controversial, study was published, suggesting a completely different method for some of the earlier pyramids. They called it the water elevator hypothesis. A team of hydrologists and engineers proposed that ancient builders might have channeled floodwaters into a massive internal shaft, using it to float heavy stones upward on a wooden platform by opening and closing water valves. Now, prominent Egyptologists remain highly skeptical of this, pointing out the lack of evidence for such shafts in Khufu's pyramid. But it really goes to show just how intensely the scientific community is still working to crack the code of ancient Egyptian ingenuity. All right, bringing it all together, the enduring human wonder. While experts are definitely going to continue debating the precise mix of external ramps, internal spirals, levers, or maybe even hydraulics used for vertical lifting, the ultimate takeaway is crystal clear. The real magic behind the Great Pyramid wasn't ancient aliens or lost magic spells, it was supreme, unparalleled human organization.
It remains absolutely staggering what they achieved. Over 2.3 million stones, precisely cut, using only copper chisels and sand abrasion, and perfectly placed at a rate of roughly 1 block every few minutes. The base is leveled to within a fraction of an inch, and the sides are aligned to the true cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west with near-perfect accuracy. And they did this thousands of years before the magnetic compass was even invented. Plus, all of this was completed in an astonishingly short time frame of just 10 to 20 years. They conquered the desert without iron tools, without pulleys, and without wheels.
The Great Pyramid of Giza is so much more than just a tomb. It's the ultimate testament to what human beings can achieve when we coordinate our resources, our intellect, and our willpower toward a single, seemingly impossible goal. It stands for eternity, a towering mountain of stone that continues to challenge our understanding of history. And it leaves us with one thrilling final thought. If an ancient society could achieve this level of logistical genius 4,500 years ago, what other incredible secrets are still waiting to be discovered beneath the sands of time? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.